Welcome back, YouTube. Today begins the long overdue project of overhauling this John Deere Unstyled A. So I've had this thing for a few years now and it's just been on the back burner, but I thought it was finally time to go ahead and get the engine overhauled and get her up and running. So where do we start on this thing? Well, when I first got it, the engine was stuck. We got it freed up and we popped the head off and noticed that someone had the head all redone. Looks like new valves, had it planed and stuff. So today what I'm going to be doing is popping this head back off there, pulling the pistons out, and we're probably going to end up honing this block and just check the rings, make sure they're good to go. So now to get at our connecting rods, we got to take this cover off right here, and this will expose the crankcase. We'll be able to pop our rods loose and push our pistons out the front. So when I popped the cover off, I seen something I didn't want to see. The mice had got inside the governor housing. I'm thinking through either the vent line or through the oil line, and decided to build a nest in there, and parts of that started falling down into the crankcase. So now I'm going to have to go through and pull this governor housing all apart and go through, clean it out, as well as go through and really flush out this crankcase and get that clean. So I got my connecting rod caps off, and one thing cool about these old John Deeres is they don't actually use bearings inside of there that you'd find in like a diesel engine or something, but they use these shims in between there where it connects onto the rod to get your spacing right, to get the right amount of oil in here. So we'll definitely be double checking these, make sure we're good to go when we're going back together. So we decided when we were going to pull this block out that we just leave the pistons in there. When we got all the bolts out of the block, it actually became quite a challenge getting this block out of the frame. We ended up having to pry on it a little bit to get this thing to move, and it was hitting on both sides of the frame, but we finally got it up and out of there.
We're going to come back around this. Just go ahead and grab that yourself.
So for any of you guys that haven't seen a piston out of one of these two cylinders, here's what she looks like. So you can see whoever lined these rings up last time didn't line them up properly. You don't want them this close together, and you also don't want them on the skirt side of the piston. You normally want to move to the wrist pin side. So when we dropped the oil on this thing, we heard a bunch of tinks, and it was small round ball bearings. We'll have to do some investigating and figure out where them came from.
This is the oil pump drive shaft. It goes up and it's driven by the camshaft, and the junction between those two is this little square drive, and that's put in there in case if you get something debris in your oil pump, or if water gets in it and it freezes, it'll break this little union here rather than doing damage to either the oil pump or the camshaft gear.
Next up, it was time to start popping the governor apart and check out how bad the mice nest was. We're also popping this cover off to check the bearing inside here to see if possibly our ball bearings came from that, but they were all there. We then started pulling the rest of the governor housing off to get at it and start cleaning inside. Yeah, look what the mice did in here. Sure built quite a nest. Glad we popped that off to get at that. Next up, we decided to pull our oil pump out and give this a good cleaning. And I'm sure glad we did, because this thing was filled up with sludge and debris. Here's what our filter looked like. That is nasty. Next up, it was time to start cleaning, and this didn't go as bad as I was thinking with how bad the mice were in there. It actually cleaned up pretty nice. So here's a look inside of our radiator, and you can see she needs a good cleaning. So we're gonna end up pulling this radiator off now and go ahead, take that apart, flush it out really good. Hopefully our core's all right. It doesn't look too bad really, so I'm thinking the core will be good. I also want to get these shutters all fixed up and get them working and operating as they should. We still got a bunch of cleaning to do and some parts to order for this thing, so hopefully in the next video we'll get this thing moved up to the garage and start going back together. I'm curious what you guys think. Should we repaint this thing or should we leave it in its original working clothes? That's going to do it for part 1 on the overhaul on this Unstyled A. I want to thank you guys for watching and we'll catch you in the next video.